Good evening, committee members. My name is David Cash, and I'm an attorney. I've worked in the criminal justice system as a prosecutor, and now I represent persons charged before the courts of criminal offenses. And I can tell you, members of the committee, the worst thing about marijuana is the fact that it's prohibited by law. We have had prohibition before when it comes to alcohol. There was prohibition in the United States from 1919 to 1933, and this is what happened. There was still supply and demand, which I think is the only true law that cannot be broken. If there is a demand, someone will supply that demand. All right? So when they took away alcohol in the United States, you know who took over and supplied that demand? The criminal gangs did. And with that came crime, came violence, came murder. In this country now, the police, DEU, Drug Enforcement Unit, according to their last numbers that they put out on their website, they said that they seized $20 million worth of marijuana. But every person who wanted to get high in this country that year still got high. So what that must mean is if we give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's say they seize 10%. Let's just say they seize 10% of what was actually in this country in terms of marijuana. That means right now we have a $200 million marijuana industry. And who is controlling it? The criminals must be controlling it. And with that comes, they're going to use that money to secure their territory by buying guns, by using guns, by committing violence, by committing murder. And the other thing it does is it turns criminals out of our own sons. We're turning criminals out of our own sons. Every crime is supposed to have a victim, right? If someone is robbed, the victim is the person who had something taken from them. If there's a fraud, the victim is the person who's defrauded. But if someone is arrested for possession of marijuana, that person is a victim. And that person is the only victim. Because they're brought before the courts. They're kept in custody probably for up to 2 days, which means they probably lose their job. Right? They have a criminal record now. And even if you have a small amount of marijuana, if it's in separate packages, they call you a drug dealer. They charge you with intent to supply. And one of the few offenses, members of the committee, that cannot come off of your criminal record is possession with intent to supply. Never comes off of your criminal record.
I'm sorry, what did you say? It never comes off.
Never comes off of your criminal record, Ms. Hunter. It's never expunged. You could be rehabilitated for robbery, for armed robbery. But you cannot be rehabilitated for possession of marijuana with intent to supply. That means you can't get a visa. You have difficulty getting a job. We're making criminals out of our own sons. The other day I was in court. I was in the drug court. And there was a person who was brought before the courts for possession of a small amount of marijuana. And they came to the bar and they were read the charge and they were asked to plead. And as I saw the person come up to the bar to enter their plea, I see them visibly shaking. They're visibly shaking. All right? And I'm trying to figure out why he's shaking. And he said he has early onset Parkinson's. And the only thing that helps him is when he drinks the weed tea. But he was convicted of a criminal offense for trying to treat his own illness. That's what we're doing in this country. The other thing, members of the committee, is this. If marijuana is legalized, as I think it should be, you still have a choice whether or not to use it. No one is going to force anyone to use marijuana. So when the web shop, when web shops became legalized, I personally don't gamble, but other people could. I didn't run in the number house. I still have a choice not to. So if you don't want to smoke weed, just don't do it. That's all. You don't have to make criminals out of other people. Okay. So we have to be wise when it comes to our public policy. We have to be wise about it. Even the police officers. If someone has a half a joint, that half a joint probably has a value of $2. A police officer has to take probably an hour of their time to interview that person. They have to write on a piece of paper which costs more than the value of that joint. A bunch of other paper is carried to court. They put them in a vehicle, carry them. How much that gas costs for this $2 joint? How much of their time they use? How much of my time they use? Right? It doesn't make any economic sense. And the victim is no one except the person who's been charged. So members of the committee, I await your recommendation. I hope your recommendation is that we put an immediate end to prohibition.